So how has in-depth analysis changed my playing of the Rock 3? Now there's a funny phenomenon that happens when you put a piece aside for quite a bit of time and then come back to it. It's like looking at it with fresh eyes, and many times I realize and notice things that I never noticed the first time learning the piece. Take for instance part of this transition section, which I just made a recent video about. I decided to make several fingering changes which I think will assist better in the flow of the music and also bringing out certain chords. Studying it has enabled me to see different motifs and patterns, especially in these areas where there are many lines on top of one another. I used to play it like this, and that's what's written, but upon looking at it closer I decided I'm going to try this. Reason being the chord structure. This appears many times. It happens here. And it also helps me to think in terms of vertical chords. This happens again here, where I used to do this, and then I decided that I'm going to try to keep it uniform. Something about having the chord in one hand with the moving line in the other helps me have it more as a singular idea. Another thing that I began to notice is the inner voices. There's a lot of echoing happening. I'm not sure that I never noticed this the first time. I was certainly focused more on the upper voice here, rather than the call and response. And then moving outwards. I always kind of struggled with this passage here. So I decided to change the fingering. I think before I was doing which is just a lot more crossing over. After slowing it down, coming back, I realized that these are just thirds. Now, there's that general rule that says you shouldn't play a thumb on a black key if you can avoid it, but sometimes it's a lot easier. Like in this case. I don't know why I never thought of that before, but coming back I realized it's a lot easier. This is another place that I often struggled with in the past. And I didn't really think about sliding the second finger here, but it's quite comfortable. Moving on a little bit further. I guess I'm thinking more about dividing the phrases into larger groups, which is something that you always want to do. And it's difficult with Rachmaninoff because, as I mentioned in the past, you don't want it to sound so busy that you're caught in the moment, playing very vertically, as we call it. You want to keep that flow. And knowing the chord structures does certainly help with that. Moving on to right around the spot where we left off in the series is the start of the second theme, which begins in the orchestra. So now that I'm aware of the relationship between this theme and then I can play this part a little bit differently. And while yes, it is very light and buoyant, I want to draw a little bit more of a connection between the two. So maybe playing the legatos out a little more than I used to. Into this theme. I believe that it flows a little better. And we've arrived. And speaking of this lyrical theme, upon listening to it again, I think I can do a much better job with the two outer voices. Thing with Rachmaninoff is his lines develop and they're so long and you need to hold on to them. I think before I was probably worried a little bit too much technically with what is happening here. So as I practice the left hand, I'm gonna try to get this line a little more legato, and the thing specifically with Rachmaninoff, because of his hand size, is it's going to require a lot of shifting. He could probably have done this when it reaches here, for instance. He could probably have grabbed that with 4 and smoothly gone to 5. With me, my hands, I can reach a 10th, but not a 12th or 13th like he could. And there are so many moments like this where I want to do a better job of connection. It's going to require slow practice. So that's going to be a finger change there that I'm not used to. And I think I sort of subconsciously realized this, but never actually stated, that the voice actually continues in the inner voice all the way up to this G. And continuing this idea of bringing out bass line, I think there's a lot of places I can do a better job. Downward scale here. And it's not like this is the most important part, but I guess I wasn't even so aware of it. Having solid bass helps to just make everything sound fuller, especially in this Russian music. Stepping back allows me to examine what I'm doing here as well. Yet again, another bass line that I didn't really notice the first time. Probably really important, especially when this quick passages are going on, and try to connect these a little bit more. The good thing about noticing these layers is that in the moments, it also prevents you from getting lost. And if you do get lost, you're not just totally embedded in the muscle memory and then you're derailed. You have more of a sense of, well, I know this melody should be here, or I know this harmony should be here, so it helps you find your way back. As you can tell, it's only just a couple sections I worked on, and already beginning to see all these different changes that I can make. And as I continue to work on it more, those changes will become more nuanced. I'll be sure to update you on the things that I notice. I hope it goes to show you how analyzing a piece can really help you pianistically in your understanding of the piece, with your memory, even with your technique and things like fingering. So that's basically it, guys. Just a quick update before we get onto theme 2, which will be coming soon. We're taking a slight little break. I've got a recital coming up in a couple weeks, and I need to be working on some other repertoire. I'll be making videos on that, but stay tuned, you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.